I never thought I'd be the guy writing some story like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We got married young, not super young, but young enough, and I always thought we had a pretty solid relationship. We had our fights, sure, who does? But for the most part, I believed we were happy. That was until a few weeks ago when everything started to unravel. It all started with little things. Lisa began acting weird around me, more annoyed, more impatient, sometimes downright bitchy over the smallest things. I'd ask her what was wrong and she'd brush me off with some excuse about work stress or her period. Nothing unusual, right? I mean, people get irritable. But I should have seen the warning signs early on. She was suddenly sneaking off more often, spending longer hours at work, or claiming she was out with friends. Her phone became her new best friend. She'd hide it whenever I came near, and she'd delete texts and calls like her life depended on it. Then there was her behavior at home. She'd come back from these work trips and smell like someone else's perfume. Not just a faint trace, like she'd come home reeking of some expensive floral scent that wasn't hers. I'd ask her about it, and she'd either get defensive or throw some snarky comment about how I was paranoid. I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind, but I pushed it aside, thinking maybe I was overreacting. A big part of me didn't want to believe anything was wrong. Lisa was pretty confrontational sometimes, yeah, but she was also clever about hiding stuff. Still, I couldn't deny the growing suspicion that something was off. I'd catch her in little lies, slip-ups that didn't add up. One day I found her phone in the bathroom and I saw a message from some guy, nothing overt, just "can't wait to see you tonight" with some smirking emoji. I froze. My heart pounded like I'd just been hit. I felt this cold dread creeping in. Who the hell was this guy? Why was she hiding? I didn't know what to think. Then came the biggest blow. A few nights ago, I decided to check her social media. I wasn't snooping, okay, maybe I was, but I saw a picture she posted. It wasn't just a shot of her at some fancy restaurant. It was her, in a dimly lit wine cellar, leaning into a guy who wasn't me. The caption was celebrating us, and I recognized the guy instantly. Mark, my wife's coworker. I'd seen them talking a lot lately, more than I thought was normal for colleagues. But what really broke me was the photo. Her cheeks flushed, her hair messy, and her arm wrapped around him like she was trying to hide it. The betrayal hit me so hard I almost couldn't breathe. I couldn't believe Lisa would do this during our anniversary dinner. The place was fancy, a real upscale wine cellar, the kind you'd think was reserved for special occasions. Instead, she was sneaking off with someone else. When I saw that photo, I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. I was furious, hurt, embarrassed, everything all at once. How could she do this to me, after all these years, and in a place that was supposed to be special for us? It was like everything I believed about her and us was a lie. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to fight. I wanted the truth. I spent the next couple of days trying to piece everything together, feeling sick with the thought of her with someone else. That's when I realized I couldn't keep pretending like I didn't see what I saw. I had to face her and get some answers. The question now was how? And what the hell was I going to do if she lied her way out of it? The day I decided to confront her, I was a mess. My stomach was twisted into knots and my mind kept cycling through all the possible scenarios, some worse than others. I kept telling myself to stay calm, but inside I was raging. I knew Lisa. She was the kind of woman who never took responsibility. If she was caught, she'd probably deny it, spin some bullshit about how I was overthinking or paranoid. That night I waited until she got home from work. She was late, usual, so I had some time to clear my head. I took a deep breath, grabbed her phone from the nightstand, and stared at her messages again. I wanted to see if I was missing anything, if there was more proof buried in her conversations. I knew I shouldn't be doing this, but I couldn't help myself. I had to know how deep this went. As I scrolled through her texts, I saw more than I expected. She was chatting with Mark long after their supposed celebration night, making plans to meet up. There were flirtatious messages, inside jokes, even some explicit stuff. I felt my chest tighten. It wasn't just a one-time thing. This was ongoing. She'd been lying to my face for weeks, maybe longer. I felt rage boil over. How could she be so fucking stupid to keep this up? When she finally walked in, I was sitting on the couch trying to keep my composure. She looked tired, but there was this smug little smile on her face, like she knew she'd gotten away with something. I didn't say a word at first. I just looked at her and handed her the phone. Her eyes flicked to the screen, and for a second I saw her pupils dilate, maybe realizing I'd found everything. "What's this?" I asked, voice shaking but trying to stay steady. She blinked, then scoffed. "Oh, come on, Mike, that's just stupid. You're overthinking. Those messages mean nothing." "Nothing, nothing," I snapped. "You've been cheating on me with Mark, during our anniversary dinner no less, and you're telling me it's nothing." She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "You're crazy. You just want to start a fight because you're jealous. We're friends, that's all. It's no big deal." I couldn't believe her. She was so blasé about it. How could she lie so effortlessly? I felt like I was in some bad movie. I'd never seen her like this before, so manipulative, so cold. I wanted to scream, but instead I asked her outright, "Are you fucking him? Are you really that much of a bitch?" Her face twisted and she snapped back, "You don't know what you're talking about. I've been busy with work, that's all. Mark's just a friend and you're just jealous because you don't give me enough attention." I looked at her, feeling the all-consuming betrayal. I'd been blind, trusting her, thinking we had something real. And here she was, lying with that sick smirk on her face. I couldn't even speak for a moment. I just looked at her, sick to my stomach. That's when I realized that this wasn't going to be fixed with apologies or explanations. It was clear she was digging her heels in, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I saw. But I had the evidence, and I knew I couldn't stay in this relationship anymore. Not with her, not after what she'd done. I had to decide what came next. But right then, I knew one thing for sure. This was the end of the line for us. After I saw her denying everything, my mind was racing. I felt like I was in some kind of nightmare. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted with everything, was out there screwing around with my twin sister's husband. That's right, I didn't even mention that part yet. Turns out, Lisa and my sister Emily have always been close, too close maybe. And the guy she cheated with, Mark, he's Emily's husband. So it's not just some random affair. It's my wife messing around with my sister's husband at our own anniversary dinner. The sheer level of betrayal was staggering. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her, feeling this cold fury building inside. I could see her trying to act innocent like she was the victim here, like I was overreacting. That pissed me off even more. How could she lie so blatantly? How could she sit there and deny the obvious when I had her phone with all the texts? And then I remembered something she'd said a few weeks ago about how she was just tired and not in the mood for sex. Yeah, I'd been catching her in little lies, but I never thought it would come to this. I knew I had to make her own her shit, so I told her straight up that I'd seen everything, the messages, the photos, the lies. I told her I knew about her sneaking off with Mark, that I knew about the affair, and that I was done. I watched her face go pale, her eyes flickering nervously. She tried to brush it off, to say it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. Her words were full of bullshit. She kept insisting it was just sex, that she didn't mean anything, that Mark was just a distraction. That's when I lost it. "Are you serious?" I snapped, voice trembling with rage. "You think I'm an idiot? You're telling me it's just sex. But you're sneaking off with him during our anniversary dinner. That's not some innocent mistake, Lisa. That's betrayal. That's lying to my face and cheating with my sister's husband. How do you even sleep at night?" Her eyes narrowed and she spat back, "You're overreacting. You always blow things out of proportion. Maybe this is your fault. You're never around. You don't pay enough attention to me. I don't need your stupid jealousy." That was it. I couldn't take her bullshit anymore. I told her to pack her bags, that I wasn't going to do this anymore. That I was done pretending she wasn't a lying, manipulative bitch. I wanted her gone. I needed her gone. I was furious, but underneath that anger I felt just this deep sadness, like I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved. In that moment, I knew I'd have to figure out what my next move was, but I wasn't going to be the one doing the forgiving. She crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. And then she started crying. Not genuine tears, I could see through that. It was more like she was trying to manipulate me, trying to make me feel guilty. But I'd already made up my mind. No more excuses, no more lies, I was done. As she packed her bag and left that night, I just sat there, feeling emptier than I ever had in my life. The house felt colder, lonelier. I kept thinking about everything that had led up to this. The signs I missed, the times I brushed it off, the moments I should have seen the truth. I thought about Emily and how she was probably just as blindsided as I was. I didn't know what was more painful, her betrayal or knowing it was all just beginning to unravel. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed up all night, replaying everything in my head, her lies, her sneers, the stupid photo of her with Mark in that damn wine cellar. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smirk, her stupid excuses. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to the woman I thought I knew. But what haunted me most was thinking about Emily. She was my sister, for God's sake. I always thought we had a bond, a kind of unspoken trust. And now I had to wonder if she knew what Lisa was doing behind her back. I hadn't told her yet. Honestly, I was trying to process everything myself before I dumped that on her. But I knew I couldn't keep it secret forever. That kind of betrayal needed to be addressed. So I decided to call Emily. I told her I needed to talk, just us. I didn't give her details at first, just that I had some serious stuff to tell her and I needed her to come over. When she arrived that evening, she looked concerned but also nervous, like she sensed I was about to drop something heavy. I sat her down in the living room and took a deep breath. "Emily, I need to be honest with you about something," I started, voice trembling. "It's about Lisa. I found out she's been cheating on me, with Mark, during our anniversary dinner in the wine cellar." Her eyes widened in shock. I could see her trying to process it, her face going pale. "Wait, what?" she managed to say. "Lisa, no, that can't be. She's not like that. She wouldn't." I cut her off. "She's been lying to both of us. I saw the messages, the photos. She's been sneaking off with Mark for weeks. I didn't want to believe it either, but it's true. And I think maybe you didn't know either. But I had to tell you because I don't want this to keep happening behind our backs." Emily looked like she was about to cry. Her hands trembled as she tried to steady herself. I saw the pain in her eyes, hurt, betrayal, confusion. She kept asking how long it's been going on, if she knew, if I knew anything else. I told her I didn't think she knew, but now I was sure she'd be blindsided just like me. We sat there in silence for a while, feeling the weight of everything. In that moment, I realized that the betrayal wasn't just about Lisa. It was about family, about trust that I thought was unbreakable. I felt this terrible mix of anger and sadness, hate for Lisa, grief for my relationship, and guilt for not seeing it sooner. I wanted to scream at her, accuse her of everything, but I also just wanted her to be honest, to tell me the truth about how deep this all went. Emily and I decided to talk more the next day, but right then I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't stay in this marriage. It was broken beyond repair. I felt exhausted, emotionally drained, like a part of me had died. But I also knew I had to be strong for myself and for her. I had to figure out what the next chapter was, even if I didn't want to admit it yet. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a complete shattering of my trust, and I wasn't sure if I could ever put it back together. The next few days were the hardest of my life. I kept replaying everything, her lies, the pictures, the way she looked when she was caught. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I saw her face in my mind, I felt this mix of rage, disappointment, and profound sadness. I knew I had to get out of this, but the thought of leaving everything I knew was terrifying. Still, I couldn't stay married to a woman who had lied to me for so long, who had betrayed me so completely, especially at a time we were supposed to be celebrating our love. I spent hours talking to Emily, trying to figure out what to do. She was just as hurt and angry, but she also understood why I couldn't ignore what I saw. We agreed that I needed to confront Lisa one more time, not to beg her to stay, but to get some final answers, and to tell her she was done. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me or gaslight me into thinking it was all just a misunderstanding anymore. This was real. She'd crossed lines no apology could fix. When I called her that evening, she answered with her typical snarky tone, pretending she was fine. I told her I wanted to talk. She was hesitant, but eventually she agreed to come over. I knew she was going to try to twist things to make me feel guilty or guilty enough to stay, but I wasn't having it. I wanted her to face the reality of what she'd done. She arrived, looking smug, expecting me to beg her to stay or to listen to her latest bullshit story. Instead, I just looked at her and said, "Lisa, I know everything. About you, Mark, the affair, the nights you lied to me, all of it." Her face flickered, but she quickly recovered her composure. She tried to deny it, to claim I was mistaken, but I cut her off. "No, I have the evidence. The photos, the messages. You thought you could keep sneaking around and I wouldn't find out. Well, I did. And I'm done. I want you to leave and don't come back." Her eyes widened in shock, and for a moment she looked like she might cry, but then she snapped back into her usual bitchy attitude. "You're overreacting. This is just a stupid fight. Mark's just a friend. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. You're just jealous." That was the last straw. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her she was a liar, a cheat, and a manipulative bitch. I told her I deserved better than a woman who played me for a fool, who betrayed my trust and my family. I told her she needed to get out of my house and never come back. She started crying, but I could see right through her tears. They weren't genuine. They were meant to make me feel guilty, to make me doubt my decision. I didn't care. I told her to pack her shit and go, that I didn't want to see her face again. She argued, yelled, even tried to guilt-trip me, but I stood my ground. It was over. The woman I thought I knew was gone. What remained was just a shell of her, a liar and a cheat. When she finally left, I felt this overwhelming mix of relief and heartbreak. My house was eerily silent, emptier than ever. I sat on the couch and stared at the spot she'd been occupying. I realized I'd lost a lot: trust, love, a future I'd envisioned. But I also knew that staying in this marriage would only hurt me more. I had to find a way to move on. That night, I reached out to a counselor, started planning how to rebuild my life. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I also knew I deserved better than someone who betrayed me so badly. I thought about my sister, Emily, and how she'd be by my side through everything. I learned that sometimes the only way to heal is to face the pain head-on, accept the betrayal for what it is, and then let go. I've realized that trust, once broken so completely, is damn near impossible to repair. And honestly, I don't want to try anymore. I want to rebuild my life without her, without the lies, without the betrayal. It's going to take time, sure, but I'm determined to come out stronger. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this has changed me. I used to think love and trust were supposed to be this unbreakable thing, but I've learned the hard way that some betrayals cut so deep, it's almost impossible to heal. I don't think I'll ever look at her the same way again. Her face, her lies, that smug grin she had when she thought she was getting away with everything. It all feels like a bad nightmare I can't wake up from. The one thing that's clear now is how important honesty and integrity are in a relationship. I thought I knew her, but her actions proved otherwise. And honestly, I'm not sure I even want to try to rebuild what's gone. I've come to see that some things are beyond fixing, especially when they're built on lies and betrayal. It's better to accept the pain, learn from it, and move forward. I've spent a lot of nights crying, angry, feeling like I was losing my mind. But slowly, I've started to piece myself back together. I've realized that I deserve someone who respects me enough not to cheat, lie, or manipulate. Someone who values honesty and trust. It's cliché, I know, but I've learned that you can't force someone to be faithful or honest. If they're going to betray you, the only choice you have is whether to stay and suffer or to cut your losses and walk away. The support from my sister, Emily, has been invaluable. She's been there through every step, hurt just as much as I was, but also ready to help me move on. We've been talking a lot about what's next: therapy, rebuilding my confidence, figuring out what I want in life. Right now, my main goal is to heal, to put all this behind me and focus on myself. For a while, looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier, but I also realize that sometimes you're just blind to the truth until it slaps you in the face. It hurts to admit how naive I was, but it's also a lesson I won't forget. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. So I'll be more cautious, more aware. I'll never let myself be that blind again. And as I write this, I feel a strange sense of relief. I've faced the worst, and I've come out on the other side. It's not the ending I imagined, but it's my ending, my new beginning. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I will never accept betrayal like this again. I will find someone who values honesty, who respects me, and who I can truly trust. Because, in the end, that's all anyone really wants: truth, respect, and love. And I know I'll find it someday.